Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today is our first episode of the seerah of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as we agreed in the last episode, which was the introduction, we will talk today about Said ibn Amer al-Jumahii. And we said that the names of many of the Arabs by that time, they would have the last one, which tells about the tribe to which they belong. So when we say al-Jumahii, it means he belongs to Bani Jumah, or the clan of Jumah. The clan of Jumah descends from one of the biggest tribes in Quraysh, or in Mecca, which is Khuza'a. Now, Said ibn Amer, he himself taught us or told us about his embracing Islam when he said that I was in my teens when I heard a caller asking all the people of Quraysh to go to the outskirts of Mecca because one of the followers of Muhammad was captured and they are about to execute him. So they wanted everyone to see this. Why do they want everyone to see him? As kind of like vengeance, to kind of like quench their thirst for blood, blood for blood, kind of like that. So Said ibn Amer said, I remember myself going out with the people to the outskirts of Mecca to witness the execution of the followers of Muhammad, one of the followers of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. This follower was Khubayb ibn Adi, and he has a story that inshallah we might talk about. Said ibn Amer al-Jumahii, he tells us that he went with the people out to the outskirts of Mecca. Why the outskirts of Mecca? Because Mecca is a haram, it's a sanctuary, not just the masjid, not just the Kaaba and the surrounding area about the Kaaba, but Mecca has limits, and these limits are known to everyone. Inside this sanctuary, everybody is safe. Everyone is safe. So if someone, let's say for example, someone killed someone and he goes to the mosque, nobody can lay a finger on him because he's safe until he leaves. Then they could capture him and they could try him and they do whatever. So to kill the follower of Muhammad, they took him outside these limits of Mecca. Said ibn Amer says that I went out with them to witness what will happen to this man. And as he said, he was in his teens, kind of like 14, 16. And he remembers that they started to torture him, calling him names, poke him with their swords, with their spears. And he was asked by the people of Quraysh, would you rather be home among your family, among your kids, with your wife and your kids, and Muhammad is in your place? And he would say, Wallahi, I would rather die 100 times. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ wouldn't feel the pain of a throne. And they got furious. And they started to kind of like cut him alive. Pinch him, pierce him with their spears until he died, radiallahu anhu. May Allah be pleased with him. Khubayb ibn Adi, before his death, before he was taken outside, he asked Quraysh to give him a few minutes to make 2 rak'ah, that is to pray for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 2 rak'ah. And this was made as a sunnah for anybody, any Muslim. Before his execution, it is a sunnah that was made by Khubayb ibn Adi, and Rasulullah agreed to it, that he makes 2 rak'ah. This is why it's important to learn about the lives of the Sahaba of Rasulullah because we learn from them. And as we said before, the sunnah of Rasulullah is everything that has been done or said by Rasulullah, or everything that has been said or done by one of the followers, the companions of Rasulullah, and Rasulullah agreed about what he did. So Said ibn Adi remembers that everybody after the execution of Khubayb ibn Adi left back. They went back to their own day life and businesses, but he went back asking himself, what is it with the followers of Rasulullah? What is it the followers of Muhammad? Why do they love him so much? What is in this religion and in this faith that makes everybody sticking to it that much, sacrificing their lives for someone else? He wouldn't rather be among his family and among his kids, among his wife, and Rasulullah wouldn't even be poked with a throne? This is strange. He started to review all his life and the lives that they have in Mecca. And because of this, and after kind of like a week, he made the decision that it is time for him to embrace Islam and go to Medina, where Rasulullah ﷺ used to live. He went to the center of Mecca, around the Haram, around Kaaba, and he talked to the people of Quraysh, and he said, I'm leaving to Muhammad. Nobody, few of the people were able to make such a declaration. But since he's backed by his family and his tribe, even if he is going to abandon their religion and start to embrace another religion, but the tribunal relationships in this case is stronger than abandoning a faith and embracing another one. So he told them that with his intentions, and he left to Medina. He reached Medina, he embraced Islam with the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he made the Shahada with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam right before the Battle of Khaybar. Right before the Battle of Khaybar. And he participated in the Battle of Khaybar and all the battles that came after Khaybar with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He learned Quran, he heard Quran from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he learned the Sunnah from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he stayed with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam until the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muslims chose Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu to be the successor of Prophet Muhammad. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was faced with a major problem. Many of the Arabs abandoned Islam after the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and some of them decided that they will not pay zakah anymore. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq made the decision to fight them all at the same time. Many of the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the greatest of the Sahaba, told Abu Bakr as-Siddiq it is not a good idea to fight all the Arabs at once, at one time. And this seems kind of like in contradiction with the personality of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. When we take a quick look at it, it's in contradiction with the personality of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. But when we take a very close look at what does it mean to have Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu as a successor, the true personality and the true faith of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, we will know that this was the right decision that he made. In 2 years and few months, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq died, and then came Umar ibn al-Khattab, the successor of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Said ibn Amer, he after a few days after Umar ibn al-Khattab took over, he came into Umar ibn al-Khattab in the masjid, and he said, "Oh Umar, you have become the Khalifa of the Muslimin, or of the believers. Now I'm giving you an advice. I ask you to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and fear none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I ask you to take care of the affairs of the Muslims and the believers who put their fate in your hand. And I ask you to like for them what you like for yourself, and dislike for them what you dislike for yourself." Umar ibn Khattab replied, "Who can do this, Saeed?" Said ibn Amer replied back, and he said, "A man like you, with your manners, can do this." So Said ibn Amer said, Umar ibn Khattab said, "Then I want you to help me with yourself," which means that I want to hire you to be one of the rulers or the governors of many of the states that are being annexed to the country, or to the Islamic State, the newly born Islamic State that was governed by the Khalifa Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, or ruled by the Khalifa ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab. So Said ibn Amer said, "Please don't. I don't want to take over any of the responsibilities of any of the believers." But Umar ibn al-Khattab was so smart, and he said, "Wallahi, I will hire you. You go to Homs, a city in Syria, and be the ruler of this city. You want me to take over this responsibility, and then you leave me alone taking it over and be responsible for it? This will not happen. You become partners in this responsibility with me." When he said you, he meant all of the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not just Said ibn Amer. So Said ibn Amer took the order from the Khalifa. He can't say no. And he went to Homs. Homs by that time was known to be the sister of Kufa. Why the sister of Kufa? Kufa is a city in Iraq, and it was known, the people of Kufa were known, notoriously known actually, to be always unhappy, always unpleasant, always not pleased with the rulers who come to them from Medina. They will always complain. No matter what they do, the rulers they do, no matter who they are, they will always complain about their governors or mayors or rulers, whatever the name that we want to call. Homs was called the sister of Kufa for the same reason. The people would always complain about the rulers. So he took over the responsibility and went to Homs, And in few months, a convoy from Homs went to visit Medina. So they visited Medina and they met Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, and Umar ibn al-Khattab started to ask them about their businesses, about their affairs, how are they doing, how is the city doing, and how is the ruler doing. Then he said, before you leave, write me a list with the names of the poorest of the city, so I will send them some money. They said, okay, and before they leave, they wrote a list to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. Umar ibn al-Khattab was a reader and writer, which is so rare at that time. So Umar ibn al-Khattab started to read the list, and he found Sayeed ibn Amer al-Jumahii among the list of the poorest of the city. So he asked, who is this? They said, Saeed ibn Amer al-Jumahii. He said, is this your ruler? They said, yes. He said, your ruler or governor is poor? They said, Wallahi, he is among the poorest of us. Days pass without lighting fire in his house. This is a metaphor for not cooking anything in his house. So Umar ibn al-Khattab sent 1,000 dinar with them to Said ibn Amer. When they reached Homs, they gave the money to Said ibn Amer. So Said ibn Amer, when he saw the money, he said, La ilaha illallah, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. There is no God but Allah. To God we belong, and to God we will go back. His wife heard him. We say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un whenever something bad happens, whenever a disaster takes place. So she said, what is it, Saeed? He said, the dunya has come to spoil our akhirah. The dunya, this everyday life, has come to us to spoil our hereafter. She said, without knowing about the money, then send it away. He said, will you help me with that? She said, I will. So he took the money, he distributed into piles, and he started to put each pile in a sack and asked someone to take this money to send it away to the poorest of the city. And this tells us that if you have a good wife, a supporting wife, a wife who knows how do you think, a wife who shares the principles and shares the values and the morals with you, she will be a very good supporter, and inshallah you will end up together in Jannah. Anyway, Said ibn Amer got rid of all the money and he stayed as he is. After kind of like 8 months, 9 months, Umar ibn al-Khattab was on a visit to the Levant. The Levant means Syria, what's now known as Jordan, and Palestine. And he passed by Homs. He met the people and he asked them, how is your ruler doing? So they started to complain. They said, Wallahi, we have 4 points against him. So Umar ibn al-Khattab started to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he said, oh Allah, don't disappoint me in Said ibn Amer. Meaning that I don't want to hear that Said ibn Amer got corrupted. He was spoiled by the life of this dunya. He's just busy with making money, just busy with his own businesses and his own interests, not using the position that he is in for benefiting himself. Kind of like that. So he asked for Said ibn Amer. Said ibn Amer came, and Umar ibn Khattab said, sit down, Said. He made him to sit on his right, and the people of the city, the representatives of the people of the city, sat on the left. And he said, so what do you take against Said ibn Amer? What do you have against Said ibn Amer? They said, the first is that he always leaves his home by noon, never before. So Umar ibn Khattab looked at Said and he said, what do you say about this, Said? Said ibn Amer said, Wallahi, Amir al-Mu'mineen, I didn't want to talk about it, but now that you asked me, I don't have a servant. So every day in the morning, I get the flour and I start to knead for my family. And then I knead the dough, and then I bake it. And after I bake it, I put on my clothes and I leave to see to watch out for the city and take care of the businesses. So Umar ibn Khattab was pleased with the answer. And then he looked at them and he said, so what else do you have against him? They said, the second is that he never answers anyone at night. So Umar ibn al-Khattab looked at him and he said, what do you say about this, Said? Said ibn Amer said, Wallahi, Amir al-Mu'mineen, I didn't want to talk about it, but I have made the day for them and the night for myself. Meaning that for myself and for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to pray, to read the Quran, to be busy with his life, to be with his afterlife, working for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reading Quran, doing all this kind of stuff. Umar ibn Khattab was pleased with the answer. And then he looked at them and he said, what else do you take against Said ibn Amer? You have or hold against Said ibn Amer? They said, there is a day every month he never leaves his house, neither during the day nor during the night, never. So he looked at him and he said, what do you say about this, Said? He said, Wallahi, Amir al-Mu'mineen, I didn't want to answer this, but now that you ask me, I have to give you an answer. I have no clothes to put on but this one that I have, and every month I have to take it and wash it, okay, do the laundry, and I have to wait until it dries, and I stay the whole day almost naked in my home until they dry. So Umar ibn al-Khattab was pleased with the answer, and then he looked at them and he said, and the last one that you have against him, the last point, they said, every now and then when he's sitting with us, he seems as if he is unaware of what goes on around him, kind of like fallen conscious. So Umar ibn al-Khattab, he said, what is it, Saeed? What happens to you? Said ibn Amer said, oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, please know that I have witnessed the killing of Khubayb ibn Adi. And I still remember his dua when he said, oh Allah, count them one by one. Oh Allah, kill them one by one. Oh Allah, leave none of them. And every time I remember the killing of Khubayb ibn Adi and remember his prayer, I feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never forgive me for not helping him on this day. So this happens to me. Umar ibn al-Khattab started to cry. Said ibn Amer started to cry. Then Umar ibn al-Khattab handed Said ibn Amer a 1,000 dinar, asking him to hire a servant for his family and to buy clothes for himself and for his family. Said ibn Amer took the money and he did exactly what he did with the first 1,000 dinar. He asked his wife to help him. He kept the money into vials. He put them into smaller sacks, and he called someone, take this money to the widow of this person, of this man. Take this money to the orphans of this family. Take this money to the poorest of that area, until he finished all the money. Said ibn Amer lived his life, the rest of his life, as we just described, until he died and he was buried in Syria. This is why we need to learn from the lives of the Sahaba, not just to learn how did they live or the austerity in which they live. Okay, I'm not asking for us to do this, but to think about the hereafter, to think about our life after death, to learn from them and to be more and more kind of like better students, learn from the Sunnah and learn from the lives of the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم ولكم. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our deeds, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who will hear the lessons and follow the best of it. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.